Great. I hope that we are ready to go. Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that you are doing well today. I'm just getting ready for the, let's see, the live chat. So let's see. Oh, Mike is here and Seth is here. Hello, my dear. So first of all, I need some help here, which is, let's see. How do I set this? Would you mind if I, let's see here. Well, first of all, could you tell me, let's see. Sorry about this. I just need to do one thing, which is, could I ask someone to, how's that? There we go. Let's see. Would someone be willing to act as a kind of moderator for the chat? It's let's see. I have Zyrothor. I've added you, my dear friend, as a moderator. So, but if someone else would also like to serve as a moderator, just let me know. It's just a matter of it's just a matter of just you know taking. Oh, Mike, thank you very much. So, if you don't mind, there's nothing. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. But there we go, Mike. Great, Mike Eli. I hope that's. Let's see here. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Mike. If anyone else ever wants to be a moderator on a live stream, just let me know. Okay. Great. Thank you so much. Fantastic. Okay, so greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke. And yes, today, is the sound okay? Is also, could you just, someone let me know if the sound is okay? If you can hear me okay, that will be great. And then we will go from there. Great. A horrible show. Thank you so much, my dear friends. Thank you. All right. And let's see one more. So I'll add one more here. There you go. So Tanner, thank you so much. I'll add you as well. Thank you. Again, you don't have to do anything. It's just to see if there's, sometimes comments might get blocked automatically or hidden automatically, so it's just a matter of unhiding them if you find them appropriate, or if there's any kind of obviously kind of suspect activity, just you can help out where possible. But of course, you don't have to do anything you don't want to. So, in any event, thank you so much. So, greetings from Tokyo. Sorry about those sort of technical details, but now that has been settled, we will move forward in earnest. So, greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this live stream finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And I am in very good spirits because today I've woken up a little bit early, and but for excellent reason, because it is my opportunity to be able to speak for the next couple hours about this film. Oh, Cooper Clever, I'll add you as well. Talking about this film, which is Superman the movie from 1978, and so directed by Richard Donner, and starring Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, and others. So it's one of my favorites, and there we go. All right. Thank you. So it's one of my favorites, and I've been meaning to do this live chat discussion for the longest time. Just been a bit busy with other matters, but finally, it's an opportunity for me to sit down and not just speak about this film, but also hear from you, my dear friends, about how you feel about this work. Again, Superman the movie from 1978. Just a few preliminaries before we begin, which is, so first of all, I will be speaking about specific details of this film. So if you have not seen the film Superman the movie, please note that I will be talking about many things, including the ending, including specific points. So I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it. Part of the fun is watching it for the first time, and I totally get that. So for those who have not seen the film Superman the movie yet, then my strong suggestion is you can turn off this live stream now. You can watch the film at your own convenient time, and then come back at any time. This live stream should be up as a video, so you can play it back as a rewatchable video at a time that's convenient to you. So that's the first thing. The second thing is also I have the live chat open, so please feel free to leave a comment behind, and I'll do my best to talk to everyone. If I skip over your comment or I miss your comment or miss calling out your name, I really apologize. There's nothing of ill will on my part meant by it. It's just my mistake. I do my best to follow everything, but sometimes I can't catch up with everything. So I might skip over something, or I might forget to mention your name. If I do forget something, just please, you can always remind me a little bit later, and I'll try to catch up with it. Or you can leave a comment behind under a video, and then I'll try to address that comment where possible. I should say too, in that spirit, that maybe I will focus today on Superman the movie. And so if you have any non-Superman the movie questions, then I might just skip over those today, because I want to focus on skip Superman the movie. But if you have any non-Superman questions that you want to ask me, again, you can leave behind a comment under a video elsewhere, and I'll do my best to respond to you. Also, yes, the chat is open for all. And so, but of course, that means that there could be agreement. There could also be disagreement. Sometimes, the internet brings with it, how should you say, some very lively disagreements indeed, every now and again, and perhaps even more often. So, but that's okay. That's okay. So I'm very happy to hear everything. And so I know that if there's even any disagreement in the live chat or elsewhere, I'm always relying on you, my dear friends, to treat each other with mutual respect, and just enjoy the rest of the conversation where possible. So I will be thanking you in advance for always showing me and showing others here that level of kindness and mutual and respect that you show. So I will be relying on you as always for that going forward. So thank you so much for that in advance. And then last thing too, I'm not talking about this film as a self proclaimed expert or scholar in the work Superman the movie or Superman lore. So on the contrary, I know very little about this in terms of the details, except what I've seen and what I've read a little bit, and also my approach to this as a fan of this film. So I've seen the film. Well, I'll get into that a little bit later, but I've seen this film so many times, and that's my approach to it. So that's how I want to structure my comments today regarding this film, Superman the movie. Oh, yes, one other thing too, which is I know there are many versions of this film, Superman the movie, available. There's a sort of theatrical cut, and then there's a slightly longer, what's known as a sort of extended cut, and then I know that there's even a longer kind of TV cut, and there might be some other versions out there, I know. But what I will be doing is I will be relying primarily on the theatrical cut. I think I might mention a few things here and there about the other cuts, but not so extensively, because I don't want to focus this conversation on on any of the versions. Maybe it's the version that I know that's been made available the most over the years. Although there might be some exceptions from in terms of when we get into the 2000s, etc. But I'll be focusing primarily on the theatrical cut version. Although I'll try to make comments where I think appropriate for the other versions. So if you've seen any of the other versions, you'll be okay, because it's not. If you've seen any of the versions and not the theatrical cut, you'll still be okay, because the theatrical cut comments that I'll make is everything is encompassed, so not to worry about that. So. All right, so let's see. I think without further ado, let's move forward with this. But first, let me go to the live chat, and we'll go from there. So let's see. So Mike is here, Seth is here, and Matthew Lockwood is here. Matthew James is here. It's nice to see you. Let's see. What is this? Yes, so Seth has a great question. Did Clark Kent change into the Superman costume by magic, or did he spend all his Daily Planet paycheck on his new suits he ruined? Well, it wouldn't be all of his Daily Planet paycheck, because as we know, he makes sure that half of his weekly salary goes to his mother. Right, so Gizmorder is here. Hello. Mike is here. Michael Strider is here. Eric Navarro, Steve Moody, Horrible Shoals, Tanner, Zyrother, Schlock Horror is here. Let's see. Gabriel Arendondo is here. So it's today is a special day. Not only is it the birthday of the late great Christopher Reeve, but it's also the birthday of my mother. Oh, that's great. Oh, is it Christopher Reeve's the late Christopher Reeve's birthday? In honor of if that's the case, then wow, that is a wonderful coincidence, and also birthday of your mother as well. So that is really lovely. So Gabriel, thank you so much for that comment. Thank you. Let's see. Seth says I was moved to tears by the scene of Lois and Superman flying in the night sky. Christopher Reeve is such a beautiful person portraying Superman. As goodbye, Frisky. Yes, yes. Although there's that bit at the end of that scene. Haven't I told you to stop telling lies? But we'll talk about that sequence. Yes, it's a very excellent sequence. It's one of the great sequences. Seth, actually, if you don't mind, let me also just do one other thing here. And let's see. There we go. Okay. And let's see here. Okay, Future Wizard 97 is here from Alabama. It's nice to see you. Scott Davis is here. Great, thank you. Let's see. Crunch Butt Steak is here. Hello, and you say checking in from the gym. Oh wow, love Superman. Have the frame poster on my wall. Well done, Crunch. So let's see. Let's see. Scrolling down. Matt Flaherty is here. Hello, it's nice to see you. Oh, great. Yes, you will bow down before me. Just kidding. So, yes, a reference to Zod. Yes. All right. And we'll talk about Zod and that scene and right. Well, yeah, the opening of this. Yes. Can't wait. Let's see. Ethan Lividitis is here. It's nice to see you. Rider Rated 18, our dear friend. It's nice to see you. Yes. John Adair is here. Let's see. 123 Rock Fan is here. It's nice to see you. JA19. Oh, so 123 Rock Fan, you say, finally watched Superman for the first time last year and really enjoyed it. Love the set design and magical feeling this movie has. Can't wait to rewatch it. Well done, yes. JA1969 says, the film sadly has not aged very well at all, apart from Gene Hackman's performance. It's a muddled mess. So thank you so much for that. Ross Jordan says, hi, it's nice to see you. Let's see. J1969 mentioned Superman 2 was far better. Yes, so we'll talk about Superman 2 in a future live stream. So looking forward to that as well. Omesh Singh is here. It's nice to see you. Let's see. Eric Pieper says this movie never gets old, whereas so many modern superhero movies grow tiresome. Let's see. Late night double feature picture show. It's nice to see you. So it's Al, yes, and I'll get back to you, Al, on those questions. Let's see. Nosferatu is here. Okay, so let's see. J1969 continues. Maybe the best moment is when Reeve defies the laws of gravity and time and spins the world backwards. That was a very chilling moment in the film, and it's most intense. Yes, we'll talk about that as well. Let's see. Hold on. Oh gosh. Let's see. Gizmorder mentions Otis. Yes, we'll talk about Otis. I'll try to do my. I'll try to do my. What's a good Otis? So okay, my bad Otis impersonation. Okay, so let's see. I'm sorry, Mr. Luthor. I'm sorry. And how about this one? Are we going to Addis Ababa, Mr. Luthor? Yeah, so that's my Otis impersonation. Yes, I apologize. All right, so let's see. Oh, Timothy is here. Hello, it's nice to see you. Zephyr is here from Northern England. Hello, it's nice to see you. Dave Teves is here. Jared is here. Nice to see you. It's okay, you don't have to stick around. I know you're busy, my dear friend. So thanks for stopping by. Dan is here. Um, let's see. Thank you very much. So the 25th, Christopher, the birthday of Christopher Reeve. I really, I didn't know that until it was mentioned here. So what a lovely, lovely coincidence, and rest in peace, right? Right. What he left behind a a a kind of let me just change that. He left behind a sort of a performance or performances for the ages, really. So well done. So hold on, let me just change. I think there's a little bit of sunlight coming in. There we go. I hope that's better. So I don't want to distract anyone there. There we go. Great. One more thing here. There we go. Maybe it's the light from Krypton. I don't know. Okay. Let's see. Kier 45 is here. Blah blah is here. Let's see. Blah blah says I love the film, but it has pacing issues. Feel the Jor-El scenes were there to create a grounding. The flying did. Oh, that's a good point. That's an interesting point. Iacona is here. AJ is here. Jonathan Reed is here. Todd Newby. Mwandishi. Oh gosh, thank you so much, my dear friend, for stopping by. Thank you. Let's see. And all right. Iacona 23 says, yes, Margot Kidder, Can You Read My Mind has always been cringy, but otherwise great film. Let's see. Sucked is here. Traveling Man. Mr. Smucker. Yes. Okay. So thank you so much. And I'll get to the live chat a little bit later as well. But so Superman, the movie. So I should mention that, as I say, I was born in 1979. So if this film was released in 78, this was released a year prior to my being born. So I never saw it when it was initially released in the theater. But it was a film that, due to the VHS era, VHS rentals and the like, I just remember seeing all the time. And so, again, like many other films that I've spoken about on this channel, here's another film where I don't have any direct memory of seeing it for the first time. In other words, it's always been a film that I felt like I've seen and I've known, whether it be on, as I say, VHS, or it was oftentimes shown on TV as well. So whenever it would be on, we would watch it, my family would watch it, or I'd watch it by myself, whatever the case may be at the time. So in other words, it's always been a film that I feel like it's been in my mind, and it's just I've never not known this film. And also for me, it coincided with, again, growing up. And so for me, when I think about Superman, I think about the comic book Superman and the story Superman, because as we know, this is a film that is based on pre-existing story material from earlier in the 20th century, and the lore of the comic book. And the great scope and depth of the comic book stories. That being said, I was, when I think of Superman, always for me the first thing that comes to mind is Christopher Reeve and Superman the movie, and the Christopher Reeve Superman films, because for me that is Superman. He is Superman, and I'm not necessarily the biggest, say, comic book reader. I've read some of the comics, but I'm not so I haven't devoted a lot of time as I should. Trying to study that and read all of the comic material. I know some of the stories, but I don't know all of them, and I don't know all the details. But I have seen Superman the movie, and indeed the subsequent Superman films, the Christopher Reeve films, with so much regularity, and so many times, that for me, this is Superman. And therefore I have a strong connection with this, and at the same time I feel like I've never known a time where I did not know this. That's too many negatives, I think, in a sentence. I apologize, but my point is, I have always felt that I've always known this film, or it's always been with me. It's much like Jor-El, that he's always been there for his son Kal-El. So, but yes, it's a very important film for me, and I've revisited it the film many times ever since, and then now with recent releases, including now this 4K for the theatrical version. This is quite a treat indeed. So now this is my approach to the film, and I try to I'll do my best to explain reasons why I really love it. So I've already seen some comments here about maybe it might feel a little bit dated or aged, or some scenes might not work as well as others. I totally get that. I mean, it's a film from right 1978, so 98. That's what, over 40 years ago. So wow, is it that long? My goodness. So sure, it might there might be some things about it that might not work for everyone. That's totally cool. That's totally okay. So if you feel that way, you can continue to write in the chat. That's totally cool. But I think there are, but I think there are those as well who really really take to this film and take this very positively and very intensely and very much in terms of there's a lot of joy that I think this film gives to a lot of people, myself included. So I'll try to explain why I feel those feelings of joy going forward. One more quick trip to the live chat, and then I'll go into some details of the film. Let's see. Kubrick Lover 72 says bad vibrations. Yes, yes. Right. Here's my other impersonation from another character. This is one of the pilots in Air Force One. All right. Fly, just fly. All right. That's my Air Force One guy impersonation. Sorry about that. I think my Otis is a little bit better. My Otis though is admittedly very poor though. Let's see, and yes. Oh yes, Gizmortar mentions the two cops. Yes, Mooney, the first bottle's on me. Let me get my head. So that's after they see the boat. Yes, in the middle of the street there in New York, and not New York, Metropolis. What did I say? Sorry, Metropolis, New York, Metropolis. Okay, Metropolis. So okay, yes. All right. Okay. HBIC, it's nice to see you. Let's see. 5 bags of popcorn is here. Hello. It's nice to see you. Great, great. All right. So I'm skipping over a number of comments. I apologize. But in the interest of time, let me now go into, let me just go to some of my, some things I want to begin saying about this film, starting about the structure and some specific aspects of the scene. So the structure is very, it's very interesting at the very start, because what we have opening is a type of homage to theater, an homage to storytelling, and a type of recollection and understanding that we are beginning with an adaptation and a reminder of the comic book, which is a great way to start, because we're essentially starting from a situation where, if we understand or if we remind ourselves where we were or where the state of, say, comic book films was in 1978, it was practically speaking, I think, in terms of what came prior to Superman the movie. Um, you know, I think a lot of people, and we get this from some of the making of documentaries. Where people are trying to figure out if they could make Superman. I think a lot of people were thinking about a campy type of approach to making superhero stories for television and on screen. Now, I love, for instance, Batman, the TV series. Adam West, I think is really cool. I love that. Um, and maybe one of these days we can talk about that series. Right? We can talk about the bomb scene and but anyway, but we'll save that for another day. But I think it was mentioned that maybe there was an idea that superhero movies, it wasn't quite a sure thing, and so maybe executives and studio execs weren't sure how to approach it. Well, I think we have our answer in the hands of Richard Donner and how this film opens. It has a strong, direct link to a type of past comic book past, which is also linked to storytelling, the theater, the magic of the theater, and the screen within the screen, which is also very important, the curtains and the seating. And so this is setting up also this tradition of cinema and storytelling and myth and legend. And also the John Williams music is giving us a sense of the unknown and the mysterious. So it's enticing us. It's letting us in. It's inviting us in. And also this is so key too because it's also maybe subliminally telling us that we are in for a film that is quote unquote going to treat the story with a sense of, say, I mean, we'll use the great word that Richard Donner uses when we see him talking about this film, right? It's verisimilitude. Um, uh, this is really huge, and we go also into not just the idea of looking at the opening the comic book, but also then going into the way in which it then fades into the sort of the reality of the situation and the daily planet and the turning globe and going up into the moon and then the sky and then going into space. Perfect intro. Perfect, absolutely perfect. It's the way, it's a great entry. And then we go into the credits, and then we have a number of things happening. Going through space in this wonderful array of flashing lights and stars and star fields. And I love the bit where you've got, well, let me get to that momentarily. So that's one thing, the star field and this traveling through space. And then the other thing too is the great credits, the flying font, which is so cool. There's some things that are so iconic about fonts, typefaces that are used in films. This is one of them. This is so cool. The flying right? It's so cool. It's sometimes hard to read, which I love too. It's sometimes you're like, what name is this? What name is it? Oh, it's Christopher Reeve, the Superman, right? It's so cool. I love how it's sometimes very illegible, which is so cool, which is absolutely cool. And then you have to kind of, it's kind of turning a bit, so you have to be sure that you're, yeah, and so that's awesome. And it has the flying trail, of course, and the sound effect. It's really cool. The sound effects really sell it. It's great. And then the John Williams music, of course, the John. What would this film be without John Williams' score? And I think someone said it. It was Richard Donner or someone said, you actually hear the word Superman in the score, which is that's so cool. It's right. You didn't need me to say it. It's time. Oh my goodness, legend. So you've got all these great elements going in, and then just going forward. So just a couple things, just a little, just comment, maybe minor comments. I love the bit where the music goes, it's sort of the latter half of the credits, and you have the little bit in the star field. Have all these flashing lights and like ink wells or something, and there's a bit where you have a little spark, which is like a fireworks spark. Yeah, I like that bit where you've got this fireworks spark going down. So we're going through Krypton. So Krypton is farther away from Earth than the fireworks spark in the middle of space. So that's really cool. All right, so that's one thing. And then the other thing too is I like the Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, and then yes, and then Superman. So we know that, and then after that, Christopher Reeve's name appears. So we know that Marlon Brando got top billing, and then Gene Hackman, and then Superman, and then Christopher Reeve, and then a little bit down the line, Margot Kidder, right? One might think that the actor who portrays the hero, which is the namesake of the title of the film, one might think that that person might get top billing in this film, and he does maybe in other films, but here he doesn't. So I think he was, relatively speaking, Christopher Reeve, he was relatively speaking an unknown, although he had, he did make appearances before. He was relative to, say, Gene Hackman or Marlon Brando, right? And of course, one of the things about the financing of this film was to be able to get Marlon Brando, who got apparently a large sum of money for his appearance in this. You can get the details in the making of documentaries, and also Gene Hackman too. This was one of the things that really secured the deal for other financing to be injected into the production of this film, Superman. So I think, right, that the understanding is this: Marlon Brando and Gene Hackman. Those are the big names, right, that were associated with this film. in terms of the financing, in terms of the order on the marquee and the credits. Now it's very interesting too, because whenever I see this, when I was a kid, this kind of confused me, because again, I was always under the assumption that it would be the person who played the superhero that is the title of the film that will be heading. I felt similarly about the Tim Burton film Batman, but maybe one day we can talk about Batman, live stream in the future someday. But here, when with Marlon Brando at top and then Gene Hackman close behind following, I always thought when I was a kid, oh, is Marlon Brando playing Superman, or is Gene Hackman playing Superman? It would be interesting. It's an interesting thought experiment to see, to imagine this film, and you have the roles reversed. So maybe Gene Hackman plays Superman, and then maybe Christopher Reeve portrays Lex Luthor. So it's interesting to think about that. Could you imagine Gene Hackman as Superman? That's really great. You know, oh gosh, I can't do a good Gene Hackman impersonation. But anyway, it's a very interesting type of way in which credits are used at a very minor point. But of course, Christopher Reeve plays Superman, and oh gosh, does he play Superman? My goodness. Yes, we'll get to those scenes, of course. But before we do, we go through space, and of course, Richard Donner's name comes in, and Mario Puzo, Tom Mankiewicz names, you see them, right? So, and then we go through, and we'll talk about Mario Puzo and Marlon Brando a little bit later. And we go through, and then the credits end, and we go into this great unknown in space, and this orange disc, reddish orange disc circle in space. Go into it and go down. It's like some white orb seems to emerge from a type of mist or vapor, and then we go into the surface planet, and we understand this is Krypton. And then a number of things, right? It has that white, almost glacier, ice glacier-like look to it, with these protrusions upward from the surface that when we see from the distance other protrusions. So maybe this is kind of cities or structures that have like a crystalline type of architecture to them. Very fascinating. And of course the music, da 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 da, it's so majestic. So this is like the level of the gods, right? So, and indeed we're talking about, if we're talking about gods, this sequence, the opening sequence, is in many ways the twilight of the gods, if we understand what's going to happen to Krypton. No one believes Jor-El, right? You should believe Jor-El. His theory. It's not outlandish. It's the truth. What's wrong with the council, the Krypton Council? But anyway, Trevor Howard, Harry Andrews. But anyway, we'll get to that momentarily. But before we do, we have this majestic looking thing, and the music. It's out of this. Really, it's out of this world. It's wonderful. Now, I don't know about you, but whenever I go to like a cake shop or a bakery or cupcake shop, every time I go to a bakery or a cupcake shop or wherever I'm in the world, Tokyo, or if now it's the pandemic, so it's hard to visit, but before everything, the world changed, I would be visiting, say, overseas, like a New York cupcake shop or something. Whenever I go to a bakery and I'd see a cake with white frosting or a cupcake with white frosting, always my mind would go back to Krypton. Always I would think back to this scene, because it looks like white frosting cake. A city looks like a white frosting cake. It's so whenever I think about white frosting cake, I think of Krypton. And it's cool too, because whenever I see someone cut into a cake, or I'm cutting into a cake, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is the moment where Krypton is being destroyed and it's all crumbling and falling apart. And I'm imagining, oh, there's a little Harry Andrews that's like walking around, and he goes, that sort of, and Trevor Howard is holding on for dear life, so cutting into the cake, and Krypton is being destroyed. But anyway, so white frosting cake, I love it. But and then we go into this darkened room. And of course, we have the scene with the huge faces, and then Marlon Brando appears with this robe and this sort of image on his chest, which is some kind of crest or something, right? And family crest of some sort. And then we have this is the trial, or the ending of the trial, and the conclusion of the trial of some sort for sedition, We understand of the three. One is curiously not named, but we understand this is the character of Non, and then Ursa, um, right, whose actions would threaten even the children of the planet Krypton, and then General Zod, right, Terrence Stamp, the great Terrence Stamp, and then standing before the council, or standing before this tribunal, and now it's time to make a decision, right? And so we have the three embodied or disembodied heads, giant heads, projected in the background. And so the idea is what will they say? And so the three of them say, there's the Harry Andrews voice, which is guilty, guilty. And then there's, I think it's Trevor Howard's last disembodied head. He says, guilty. And then, right, finally, it has to be unanimous. And so, what will Jor-El do? Does he say guilty? No, no, no. He doesn't even give them that. Right. He's not even going to say out the word. He's going to take his little giant, glow stick thing there, and it's just like he's going to do a little thing and just. He's not going to even give them the dignity of giving them an entire glowing light stick. It's just the tip that's glowing. So, oh my goodness, if I were Zod, I'd be like, oh, this would just be just frustrating me to no end. Oh gosh, at least say guilty, or at least if you're not going to say it, just have the entire stick light up. Don't have just the tip light up. Anyway, so Zod is just very, very obviously very upset, and who wouldn't be if you're standing there and you're in the middle of these automated hula hoops, right? Just gosh, what's with the hula hoops? I just want to get out. I want to have fun. I just want to take over Krypton. What's with the hula hoops? Get me out of these hula hoops. But no, right? Jor-El won't have it, so he just walks away, and this is the big scene, right? Of I offer you greatness, Jor-El. Yes. And then, of course, it was mentioned by one of our dear friends in the live chat. You will bow down before me, right? And it's the line which is setting up everything for Superman 2, as we know, which is, you will bow down before me, Jor-El, both you, and then one day your heirs, right? So that's my Terrence Stamp impersonation again. You will bow down before me, both you, and then one day you're right. So that's Terrence Stamp. So I guess I always I guess one thing too, which is before I was watching this film on say DVD and then Blu-ray, which has the option of having subtitles. Watching it on VHS or watching it on TV, whatever, many years ago, I could never catch that last word that Zod says at the end of the sentence. So he says here, you will bow down before me, Jor-El, both you, and then one day your heirs. The word heirs is Heirs, and so this is the implication being that the son of Jor-El will be the object of Zod's anger one day, right? So, but I could never get this word. I could never hear it. I could never catch what he's saying. Is he saying heirs or is he saying another word? And always I thought, I always heard the word ASS. So I always thought he was saying, oh, you will bow down before me, Jor-El, both you, and then one day you're ASS. That's what I always thought he was saying, but no, I was wrong. He's saying the word heirs. And so thank you so much, subtitles, for helping me with that. But yes, and then we have the giant white frosting snow globe opening, and they have the streak of light going, and we have the surface of the city structure and what's going on. It's mysterious, and the John Williams score, it's all huge and ominous, and suddenly we see right from the outside this thing, this freaked me out as a kid. This thing, what is this thing here? This flying mirror glass in space coming through. It's flipping, and this freaked me out. This right, this thing with the right. We understand it's It's something it's not really mentioned in this version, but there's a little bit reference to it in maybe some of the extended versions about the Phantom Zone, right? But this now the three of them are trapped in this glass thing that's flipping. This is so scary to me. I don't know. There's something about claustrophobia and being entrapped. There's a lot of these scenes, by the way, being entrapped in closed spaces. When we get to the scene with the earthquake and Lois and the car, oh, this is so scary to me. But this is one of them. And what gets me to, what sends chills down my spine. We hear Ursa's voice as it flips away, and then you hear her say, "Forgive me, forgive me, forgive." Oh, chills, chills. Just thinking about it now, I'm scared. I'm so scared. I'm a little boy, scared all over again every single time. So, but will we see them again? Who knows? I mean, uh, if you think about it, and it's kind of mentioned in one of the in sort of the extended versions. If you think about it, and Jor-El, I think, catches wind of this, which is um, if we think about what happens to Krypton and the destruction of Krypton, it would probably be kind of, I mean, you, those three who were on trial and found guilty, I mean, they're left alive while everyone in Krypton is going to die. So it's kind of, the roles are really kind of weirdly and perversely reversed in terms of what probably their ultimate objectives might have been. But in any event, yes, the council and Trevor Howard, the legends that are on this, like Trevor Howard and Harry Andrews I mentioned. And I love Harry Andrews here. He says, again, please, I apologize for my very bad impersonations. Here's my bad Harry Andrews, but Jor-El, be reasonable, right? So everyone's thinking, Jor-El, what are you talking about? Your theories, we don't dispute your facts, but we think your theories are so outlandish and so, unbelievable. What are you talking about? All we think is, and Jor-El's like, this planet is going to destroy itself in 30 days. My goodness, people, will you please listen to me? It's going to destroy itself. And then everyone's like, no, no, Jor-El. No, we don't think it's gonna. We're okay. We're not gonna die. Nothing's gonna be destroyed. All we think is that the planet's orbit is shift, or the orbit's shifting. That's all. That's all. I, I don't know about you, but if I think of the planet Earth, a lot of life that we find sustained on planet Earth that we're living on now has to do with the way in which the sun affects Earth, and the distance between Earth and the sun is very much key to the type of life and ecosystems that have evolved on Earth over time since this orbit has been established between the Earth and the sun. So if you have a discussion about it's just the orbit's going to change, that's a pretty big deal. If you have a planet whose orbit will change either closer to the star around which it's orbiting, or farther away, like the red Krypton sun, then that's a big deal, and you can have huge ecological even disastrous consequences, even with the shifting of the orbit. So I don't know what they're talking about. Even if you have an orbit shift, that's still huge, let alone the possibility of the place entirely being destroyed. But no, what if no. And let's make it even worse. If you plan to escape, Jor-El, then we're gonna get after you, so you can't do anything. Ha ha ha. We're right. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. So my goodness, what's going on here? This idea of vanity, which is mentioned a little bit later in some of the extended scenes when we talk about Jor-El and Kal-El and their discussions. Had it not been for the vanity of the people on Krypton, maybe I would be here holding you in my arms. And so, yes, this scene. But Jor-El, he's very clever, right? And he knows that he can't leave. And he says, neither my wife nor I will attempt to leave Krypton. So that's very clever, right? It's almost like it reminds me to, when this is Marlon Brando, and this won't be the last time I'll make a Godfather reference, but it reminds me to. I won't be too detailed for those who haven't seen the Godfather, but it reminds you to, it's like when Don Corleone says, I won't be the one who breaks the peace here. So I won't be the one. But of course, and Jor-El says, I won't leave Krypton. My wife, Kara, won't leave Krypton, so don't worry. what does he mention his son? No. In fact, here, that's the key, because we go to his quarters and he's setting up this thing, and we see this huge giant. I don't know what it's like. I know what what's the word? It's not an acorn, but sometimes there are those like things. When I was living in Connecticut, there were these. There weren't. I forget the name of it. They weren't acorns, but there was a special kind of tree that had these seeds or acorns that had there was like the shape of these like spiked balls. And so whenever I pick one up in the woods, I think, oh, this is just like that ship in Superman the movie with the spiked ball thing and then flying through space. So I don't know if anyone knows what that, if anyone knows what the name of that thing is, please let me know. But anyway, yes, so we know that Jor-El is planning to send his only son to Earth. And Suzanne York's Carter says, "Well, why Earth? Why Earth?" And then there's a whole discussion about how the life they're far behind us in terms of technology, civilization, and advancements, right? But the sun will sustain him and give him powers that beyond that of mortal human beings. So that's the theory. And then the mother saying, he will be different. He won't be like them, and that will give him an advantage. That's what the father says. So there's a little bit of a debate between mother and father about, is this really right for their son? But in any event, right now everything is in motion, and all the crystals are set, and everything is being placed, including the things, so we understand too, excuse me, that these crystals have a very significant meaning and purpose. There's a type of technology that's related regarding these crystals. But yes, and this giant spiked ball ship that's going to take them away, or that's going to take him away. One final last goodbye. I love how, right, Marlon Brando, he carries his son, and he doesn't even look at him. He just kind of looks down. He doesn't smile, and he's just so, right, just um, um, I wish he could have said something like, I don't know, maybe it would have been cool, to reference again another Godfather reference when he carries his son, and just before he puts him into the ship bit cot there, he says he could have referenced, he could have been Marlon Brando referencing Robert De Niro in Godfather Part 2, and you could say, uh, uh, not Michael, but Kal-El, your father loves you very much, very much. Oh God! Anyway, let's talk about the Fortress of Solitude scene a little bit later in The Godfather. But yes, this is the final moment, the final tangible moment between parents and children and child before they're off. And of course, now the red sun is ever coming near, and it's too late for everyone. But one last chance, one person who can escape, going through that glass ceiling and then escaping while things are destroying, everything's becoming red, and things are flying through, and all the people in their white, I forgot to mention the clothes. Those are really cool clothes, right? And the white glow and things. I'm surprised too, I don't see anyone wearing sunglasses. If I were there in Krypton and wearing those clothes, I'd be like, give me some. I love these clothes. Don't get me wrong. These are great clothes, and the white glow and everything, they're really cool. But gosh, just give me some sunglasses, because they're really hurting my eyes. They're great. I love them. Whoever designed them, I love it. I love it. But just give me some sunglasses. But in any event, right now everything's being destroyed. I mentioned the Harry Andrews. Right, that one. And everyone's flying through. And I was a kid, and just this, for whatever reason, it was this shot of all the little white dressed Kryptonians flying through space as they're falling to their deaths. This shot also freaked me out. And then, boom, the shot from the distance. Explosion, boom. That's it. Yes, the end here. But we have the little baby starts to grow into a little child, flying through the space. Right, so we have the space, and then going through, and then Earth, and then and then going down, and then here's the next part, the structure, landing on Earth. And so it's very psychedelic, very cool, very ominous. And this passage of time in this scene is very, very cool. It was always hard to wrap my head around this as a kid, but I think it's subliminally I understood that. Oh yes, time is passing. A lot of time is passing. So very cool indeed. And the kind of the white glow and just the space passage and the again the space shots, the space fields that was very much similar to what we saw in the opening credits. So very cool indeed, very very cool. All right, so let's see, Pine. Uh, let's see. All right, Mad Attack is here. Chronologic is here. Hello. Tomahawk 238 is here. Hello. Um, Scott C is here. Hello. Yes, you mentioned here the opening of the dome is still quite effective. Yes. Um, let's see. I love the zing sound effect when the vertical beam of light when it's released. Yes. Yes. Very cool. Yes. Um, oh, and Steve Moody says your Terrence Stamp impersonation scared my cat. So I'm so sorry. Please extend to your cat my deepest apologies. Yes. That's great. Yeah, that's a great scene. Um, and yes, the miniature work, the model work, and the effects are just amazing here. Absolutely amazing. The sense of scope and grandeur that's captured. It's just oh wow. KS Sim is here. It's nice to see you. Great, great. Let's see. Cal. Let's see here. Cal Chavez here. Hello. It's nice to see you. Yes. Great. Yeah, Kier 45 mentions that the ship design. Yeah, very cool design. I don't know if it's a pine cone. Is it, Cooper Clever says nutmeg. Is it? I don't know. Let's see. Is that what it is? Nutmeg. I don't know. It has the, it's kind of like looks. It has that. It's a ball with spikes on it. It's I don't know what you call it, but I saw them all over the place in the in the forest in the woods. So again, this is like the ship that yeah. All right. If you don't have that's okay. No one knows what I'm talking about. That's okay. All right. So just moving forward here. Um, a nutmeg. Okay, nutmeg. Is it nutmeg? Right. Okay. Is it nutmeg? Maybe it is. I'm not sure. But with sticks on or the spikes on, I'm not sure. But anyway. All right. Let's see. So now going back. So now, yes, we are now in. The ship has crash landed into the middle of this field. And who should be driving by at the same time? Well, this couple, and we understand this is the Kents, right? Jonathan and Martha Kent, and they're driving in that truck, and they see the crash, and there's no one else about, and they seem to be driving to or from somewhere, and then they're startled by this, of course, and they stop the truck or they stop the car. I love the detail where the way in which Jonathan Kent has to open the door is he has to roll down the window first, reach his hand out, and then pull the handle from the outside. I love that detail. That's so cool. And they go and then they investigate what's going on. They see the crash site. And what do they see in this thing? Something's fallen, right, from the sky, the trail and the meteorite or some sort. And they go and they see this innocent boy who's kind of naked and almost defenseless and helpless and totally vulnerable. But he crawls out of this and with open arms and a smile and the wonderful John Williams going dun dun dun, right? Right now we have this little boy who's now on Earth, and then now they're trying to fix the tire, and talking to about how they've been blessed. Martha Kent saying how they've been blessed here, and I love the moment where with the they've always wanted a little boy, and here he is, and then the little boy turns to her and he hugs her with so much enthusiasm. I love that. Just he's just hugging. Oh, such a great, lovely moment. And then, of course, Jonathan Kent, he's trying to be a realist here. He's saying, oh, we have to be really careful. And just right. And are you listening to a word I'm saying? And suddenly, boom! Oh, it's the jack falls, and the car's about to to collapse on Pa Kent. But oh no, who's gonna save the day but this little boy with with the thing around his legs, and he's opening it, and he's like, I love how he's holding up with two hands, and he's doing this, and there's a thing, he's got his head against one like dun, 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 it's so cool, it's so cute, so cute. So it's in the right. So oh, this little boy is something special, right? And then we cut to a shot where he's much older, and this is Clark, right? Clark Kent, and we see him with a football game, and Lana, and we get mentioned in brief appearances of Lana and Brad, and I love Lana's, oh Brad, and Brad's like, oh, you didn't clean all this up, around all this stuff that's still on the ground there. And Kent is obviously or Clark is very, very angry that he can't go, and listen to people play some records, and just he wants to go, but no, he can't. I love that nose, by the way. And then as everyone leaves, he's there by himself. And there's a great shot of the football. He's like, oh, I can play football. I can play football, guys. And he just kicks the football and just goes out. Oh, all the way, all the way. Now, you have to think, I'm not a football player. I'm not an American football player. So I don't know the ins and outs of, I know the general rules of football, but I don't know, I'm not a football player, so I don't know all the strategy. But I would think that if I were a football team manager, I would think that probably, I wouldn't want to have Clark Kent, or maybe I would want to have Clark Kent on my team, but if you kick a football that goes right into space, does that count? Does that count as a score, or does that not count? I would think that it probably doesn't count. Is that like a field goal? How would you measure that as a field goal? Because it's going into space and you can't get the ball back. So does that count or not? If it doesn't count, then you don't get the field goal. And if you don't get the field goal, chances are, if it's if it's 4th and 1 with 3 seconds on the clock at the end of the fourth quarter, what are you going to do? Or no, so I'm not 4th and 1, but let's say it's 4th and 4, right? No, it's 4th and 9, and we've got 3 seconds on the clock before at the end of the fourth quarter. What are you going to do? Okay, Clark Kent, I want you to try to go for a field goal. So he tries to go for a field goal, and then the play starts 3-2. He kicks the ball, but it goes right into space. And then the referee's like, what are we going to do? Does this count as a field goal or no? So you can imagine the tension that would be in the audience there, or in the stands. Is this a field goal or not? Because it's they're down 2 points. So you need to get that. But are they going to get it or who knows? The tension is intense. So for that reason, I'm not sure if it might be the best thing to have Clark Kent on a football team. But the point is that he has superpowers. And those superpowers are shown in another way too, with that great way that he's running alongside a locomotive. And this is reminding us of the great phrase, more powerful, faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive. Not necessarily going a pound for pound power against the locomotive, but just rather the speed. And I love the bit where you see his legs moving like that. Oh, it's so cool, so cool. And if it was to the little girl from the window there, and in the extended scenes, you have an idea of who this little girl is. It's an interesting, but anyway, he's running and he runs across the track. Woohoo! And then that's it. Oh, great. And of course, later you hear a little bit of rock around the clock, I think. And how'd you get here so fast? Oh, I ran. Oh gosh. And then this is not so. Jonathan Kent's looking at this like, oh, I gotta have a talk with my son here, with Ma Kent over on the porch. And you've got that line, you've gotta, right? We were worried about when we first met, we first saw you, we were worried that they were going to take you away. And so the idea is he's got to hide his powers in order to protect himself. I know he has the urge to want to show off. He's young. He can do all these things. And he says, what's wrong with showing what you can do? And he's like, yeah, I know, but you've got to have some self-control, if not for anything, but to protect yourself, because it could be very dangerous. That's the implication. And this is where you get the line, right? I don't know why you're here, but one thing I do know, son, is that you are here for a reason. Right? The great Glenn Ford. You are here for a reason. He doesn't know what that is, but you're here for a reason. So just let's wait. And it's not about kicking, the football. Maybe it's something else. And that seems to get Clark. That convinces Clark to be okay. He's like, okay, yeah, but all right, come, Pop. Let me race you. Let me race you. All right. And he's like, all right, son. Let me race you. And if you just remember Clark Kent running just a few seconds prior, you just so if I were Paul Kent, I'm like, oh, gosh, I don't want to race. I don't want to race you, Clark. I know you're gonna beat me, but anyway, he's the dad. He's got. But then, the moment here, which is so heartbreaking. He runs and just and the dogs, and then just he feels his arm, and he knows this is the end. And there's that brief moment where he realizes, and he says, "Oh no," and he collapses. Oh my gosh, talk about an emotional wallop, and that's it. And he's gone, and then the reaction, right? From Ma Kent, right? Jonathan, right? And the dad, and they go, and there's a distant shot, and the somber music is playing. Oh, and then you hear her voice say, "Oh no, oh no!" That also gets me every time. That those moments, and just and then the passing of the father, and then you get the shot, the very not many people at the graveside in the funeral, but you have the two of them. Uh, Mother and son. And then Clark said, all this, things I could do, all those powers, I couldn't even save him. And they walk away, not before. I love the detail too, where he gives his mother just a flower from one of the wreaths, or the flowers at the gravesite. Just gives it to her mother again as a moment of just right mourning, right? Really lovely indeed. And so many things about this sequence are so wonderful. It's not quite over yet, I know, but it has a sense of a type of a rural America, of course, which is very much part of the, say, thesis of the film, which is linking this in cinematic terms, linking the story of Superman in cinematic terms, also it's linking it to this idea of the celestial or the godlike with Krypton. And there's also the idea of here Americana, and the rural America, and the sort of the wholesomeness of the scene, that is very much, again, part of the legend that's being set up. And so this is, of course, the setting, Smallville, Glen Ford. This is all here, and so this is also very important in the establishment of the sort of the legend, that is the Superman myth, which is so key. And it's also great structure too, because we have already a film that whose structure seems to be suggesting connected but still very distinct layers, because the Krypton scenes are very distinct from the Smallville scenes. And so I love that contrast. And indeed, when we get to Metropolis, those are even going to distinguish themselves out even more. So this has a very interesting structure to it. And so we have multi levels, this being the Smallville. And then, of course, this is not quite over yet, because we have at night with I love the detail. It's a kind of the radio that's on his nightstand there. It's still on, but it turns it off in the middle of the night. Clark wakes up and he hears something. It goes to the barn, opens the door, and there's something in the bottom there. And he sees the green glowing stick. And the green glowing stick, something special about this green glowing stick. I wonder what it is. I mean, I mentioned it in his previous live stream, I think, but there are those sticks that you can buy, and you can break them. You can break the inside and shake them up, and they glow for about 30 minutes. So sometimes, so if you get red, you can break it and shake it up, and you can pretend it's like a lightsaber. If you get green, or if you get blue, you can break it and shake it up, and you're playing lightsabers. That's really cool. But I always got green, and I always got green because I break it and shake it up, and I pretend that it would be the crystal here, the green crystal from Superman. The green crystal, so cool. Green, the way it looks, I don't know. There's something about the green crystal, the way that the tone of the green here, for some reason, it's just so cool. and this means to that he's got to go away, and uh, and he's walking in the field there, and his mother, right, sees him through. I love that shot too of Ma Kent as she's looking out and sees Clark in the distance there, and she's looking through the screen of the door. That's for some reason that, and then you can see how aged she is in terms of right how many right in terms of how old she is now, and sort of the frailty of her situation, but she's still, of course, right, the mother, and so strong, and she walks. Oh my good, that distance from the house, how I mean, he really walked, didn't he? And good for her too for walking all the way over there. If I were the guy, I'm waiting until he comes home. I'm not walking out. I'm just waiting until he comes home. She goes out. Good for her. And they had that wonderful moment where he says, "I've got to go away." And she says, don't ever forget us. And they have that hug and embrace, and of course the camera shot, which is this great panning shot around them and the fields and the sky, and it's something out of it's like Terrence Malick or something. It's amazing, amazing, and it's the sweep of the music. It's again majestic and beautiful. Again, the celebration of rural America, Americana, and this is so important for the establishment of the cinematic myth and legend that is Superman the movie. So, and then we go from there to the icy tundras, right? This is, I think, what it's meant to be. It's meant to be the North Pole, right, or close to it, wherever. And walking, and he walks, right. I don't know how he gets there, but he's just walking around, and suddenly he sees some place which he thinks, oh, that's interesting, and for some reason he knows that to take the green crystal out of his bag and then throws it some distance, and it lands, boom, and it lands and it lands and it sinks, bubbles up, the green light and the bubbling, flashing, and things growing out, and then boom, we have the creation of what we know to be the Fortress of Solitude. And so we'll get into the Fortress of Solitude scene, but first I'll go to the live chat. All right, let's see here. Okay, scrolling down. Oops. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Brambles? So, Future Wizard mentioned brambles? Is it brambles? I don't know what those are. I don't think so. I don't know. Again, oh gosh, I wish I don't know. But anyway, let's see. Oh, Christopher Thomason is here. It's nice to see you. Yes. Let's see. Todd Newby is here. Hello. Michael Strider says, my dad took me to the Superman opening. He bought me kryptonite rocks and a Superman ring. I still have the rocks. Oh, that's so cool. Kryptonite rocks. Wow. What color are they, by the way? Are they white or are they green? I wonder. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I'm so jealous. Let's see. Steve Moody says, I thought the high school Clark looked too old. I read he was only 21, but I still think he looked too old. Yeah, yeah. I mean, but you have that in not just this film, but in other films, right? Or another. Sometimes, oh, this person is a high school student or something, but they look much older than high school students. But yeah. Let's see. All right. Scrolling down. 5 bags of popcorn says 3 pumps is a foul. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Thank you. All right. All right. Oh, look at that, Dan with a great compliment here. Superman the movie. I didn't know they made a Daisuke biopic. Oh, that's very kind. That's very kind of you. I'm very flattered by that. Yes, but Could you imagine a Daisuke Beppu biopic? Wow, wow, what a dull, what a dull movie that would be. I'm sure. Like, oh my goodness, Daisuke Beppu biopic. Box office disaster. But thank you for the sentiment, Dan. I really, really, I'm very flattered by that. Thank you, thank you. Um, let's see, scrolling down here. Scott C says, never loved the running shot. So you're referring to Superman or Clark running alongside the train there. But the jump in front of the train and the running in the distance shots are great. And then, of course, the sound, right? Woohoo! Woohoo! Or something. Yeah. Um, Omesh says, speaking of Child Kala lifting up the car, Superman's comic book debut is in Action Comics #1, which on the cover features Superman picking up a car. Yes, and it was referred right at the start of the video. Yeah, well done, well done. Let's see. Um, yeah, Scott's talking about Glenn Ford. Yeah. Oh, what a scene. Yeah. Um, and there's talk I see about Richard Donner. It's great. Um, Yep, Kubrick says exactly all those powers I couldn't even say. It sets up the motivation that we see in towards the end of the film. You're absolutely right with Superman and what happens with Lex Luthor and Lois Lane. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Okay, again, sorry, I'm scrolling down. I'm skipping over a number of comments. I apologize. Um, great. All right. Yes, I see some mentions here of Margot Kidder. So we'll talk about more. Okay, well, yeah. Now let's go again. I apologize for skipping over the comments, but it's a great conversation. There's a lot of them. I see Twilight Zone references. Richard Donner directing other things as well. Great, great. So please keep it up, my dear friends. Please keep it up. And so now let's go back to this, which is sisters. You're talking about. We'll talk about. There's going to be a sisters, Brian De Palma sisters video up in the next few days, if you're interested. In connection with Brian De Palma film discussion, because this weekend is a Margot Kidder weekend for me, Superman and Sisters. So it's fine because yes, yeah, Margot Kidder. Wow, wow. One of my yes, yeah, screen crushes, Margot Kidder. But in any event, before we get to Metropolis scenes, we have a little bit more to go with the Fortress of Solitude, and we have teenage Clark going through this place, this structure, which looks oddly familiar. It does have a Krypton, or I'm sorry, I always say Krypton. Um, I should say, I know there's the Christopher Reeve American accent way to say Krypton. Is that CRI? No, it's actually with a KRY, Krypton. Or there's the Marlon Brando, British accented Marlon Brando, Krypton. So your choice, my dear friends. I think either is acceptable, given that you have the both pronunciations included in the same film. So I'll say Krypton, but maybe for those who prefer Krypton, go for it, my dear friends. But in any event, it looks very similar to the Kryptonian architecture, although somewhat different. I don't know what the temperature must be in there. I've always wondered, is it hot or cold in the Fortress of Solitude? It looks pretty cold to me, but anyway. Um, yeah, and where's the kitchen? Where's this? When we get, maybe we'll try to figure out these questions when we get to Superman 2, when we talk about Superman 2. But before that, here we have, and then some crystal goes into this huge kind of thing there, and I know, right, that structure, that computer console in the middle of the room there, that looks really cool with all the crystal tubes hanging out for sticking out. Those are really cool, right? Don't you think so? Like, I love, right now we have all these products that are being released, like iPhones and galaxies and something. There's a recent iPhone announcement, or the iPhone release, And of course, that red. Could you imagine the next iPhone looking like a Krypton Fortress of Solitude console? Like, oh, here's the next iPhone. What's gonna look like? What's gonna look like? Is it gonna look like the previous iPhone? Is the home button gonna come back? No, 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 no. The idea for the new iPhone is this: it has all these crystals coming out and tubes, and people's like, huh? Yeah, yeah. If you want to go back home, all you have to do is put a crystal into the tube here, and it'll take you right back to the home screen. Oh, that's so cool! Brilliant, brilliant. How much is it? How much is it? Oh, it's $2,000. Oh, I want one. I want one. Great. Yeah, that would be so cool. That would be the next big hit. Make it look like the Fortress of Solitude console, because that looks so cool with all the crystals, and he knows, Clark knows exactly what to do at the right time, because when he puts it in, boom, what does that bring with but the giant magical some glowing thing that comes, and it's the disembodied head of a giant Marlon Brando head that comes in the middle of the room here. Wow, a giant floating Marlon Brando head in the middle of this room. It talks about this is the place where you and I will be talking. I will be continuing your education. We will talk about these things together. I will write. I am Jor-El. I am your father, and your name is Kal-El. And talking about who you are. You are from the last. You're a survivor of the planet Krypton, and talking about you look like a human being, but you're not one of them. You have great powers, and this is the continuing education. And what I love too is that there is it's not just a spectral recording, but this is the idea is that, and you kind of get it here. You get a better idea of it, I think, in the extended scenes. But the idea, the notion is that this is supposed to be interactive. The giant floating head, Marlon Brando head, is meant to be an actual almost living presence, and so you can talk to it, you can ask it questions. Hey, how are you doing, flying head? And you can he'll say, oh, I'm good, how are you? And there's a little scene about you can't do this, Kal-El, 28 hours into 24 hours, but so it's interactive. And it's like the living spirit or soul of Jor-El is in this Fortress of Solitude. This is a really cool point, because if you recall from the early Krypton scenes, or Krypton scenes, with the destruction of Krypton, you see some of the members of the Krypton Council getting killed. Interestingly, you never see Jor-El or Kara, right? You never see any of them get killed. You see them running through the you see them running through the debris and falling stuff, and you see like things falling and almost falling through into crevices and holes and things, but you never see them actually die, or never see their deaths on screen. It's assumed, of course, because the planet explodes, but you never see that happening. And I think that's a really important detail, because what did I say? I said Kara, I meant Laura. Excuse me. Laura. Excuse me. If I said I think I said Kara before. Laura. So that's my apologies. So you see Laura, and you see Jor-El running through the debris and everything like that, but you never see them die on screen. And that's very important, because what that means is, as a viewer, one can understand and appreciate that they still, or at least the floating head Marlon Brando here, they can still be alive, in a manner of speaking. And in fact, that lends to the further understanding or appreciation that maybe something of their spirit is still alive here. So we'll see that we see that here with Jor-El and Marlon Brando here. We might see a little bit of Susanna York and Laura later, but we'll see. Going. I apologize. I said Kara, but I meant to say Laura, so that's my apologies. I corrected myself. So I don't know why. Maybe a lot of K's going on in the world of Krypton, Kal-El, because a lot of K's. Could you here? Could you imagine, what do they eat? What do they eat for breakfast on Krypton? I can imagine it's probably Special K cereal. I'm here all day, folks. But anyway. Could you imagine if that was really the case? If you're in Krypton and your choice of breakfast cereal is Special K, that would be perfect. That would be so perfect, right? Anyway, what was I saying? So yes, so with the floating head Marlon Brando and teaching, and the years passing, and then finally at the end, I give them you, my son, and the flying, almost kind of scary looking ice mask. Marlon Brando ice mask, I think, floating through space. Da 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 da. Nah, nah. And then we see someone in the distance with a Superman, right, and then and flying through, and then it cuts to Metropolis, and then the scene goes to Metropolis, and the guy selling tomatoes in front of the Daily Planet and everything. So, but before we go there, just one thing too, which is of course flying head Marlon Brando scene is very important because uh, what is it? Because I always think, right, because of the connection with Marlon Brando, Mario Puzo, The Godfather. I had The Godfather because I've been watching it recently again. And so could you imagine the Godfather scenes at the very start taking place not at the Corleone compound, right? Connie's wedding taking place not at the Corleone compound, but at the Fortress of Solitude. Could you imagine Connie's wedding taking place at the Fortress of Solitude and everyone meeting at the Fortress of Solitude? Sonny and Michael and Fredo and Connie, and then Don Corleone taking visitors from all the people, and people have to wait in line to get into the Fortress of Solitude to have their quick meeting with Don Corleone. You can see Luca Brasi sitting outside of the fortress in the North Pole, sitting in outside, just saying, Don Corleone. I'd like to, right? Could you imagine? Oh, it'd be so cool taking place, and the floating head of Marlon Brando talking to Bonacera, and the float like Bonacera, the giant. Anyway, the Godfather Superman crossover. Any screenwriters out there, it's a box office hit waiting to happen. I know it. I know it, or not. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, cool. Yes. Um, anyway, so go to the. Let's see. Let's see. Going to. Here we go. All right, going to this chat here. So what is the temperature inside the Fortress of Solitude? I wonder what it is. Has that ever come up? I'm not sure. Again, those details might emerge or become relevant when we talk about Superman 2. So let's see. Yeah. Snow cones. All right. Okay. All right. So again, in the interest of time, it's now 20 minutes past 8. So let's continue on. I have about a little bit less than an hour to go. So, but there's still a lot to go on with this film, right? Because we go into the next scene, which is the Metropolis scenes, New York Metropolis scenes, and again we have the great opening shot outside with the guy selling the vegetables outside. Tomatoes, fresh tomatoes, and so it's really cool. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what Midtown Manhattan must be like now, but are there still fruit and vegetable stands like that in that part of Midtown Manhattan? I'm not sure. It would be so cool if there were, because I'd go every day and buy a tomato, because that would be real, great stuff. But in going there, and we have the Daily Planet and the hectic goings on that it's the Daily Planet, and the look through the sort of the viewfinder of the camera there, and then all the shots, and this is Jimmy Olsen's camera, and looking through, and we see that wonderful shot of Margot Kidder and the smile looking and how many T's in bloodletting. Oh, that's great. And a little bit later, there's only one P in rapist, and so this, they had it, there's a little detail which I didn't catch until recently, that like apparently Jimmy Olsen and it was Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane had a debate on whether there was one P or two P's, right? So that's really funny. I love that. Just these little details always crack me up every time. And in fact, this joke about one P or two P's, it reminds me of that. Do you know Saturday Night Live? And do you know the the one with the Celebrity Jeopardy? and there's Alec Trebek, and there's always Sean Connery. There's the Sean Connery impersonation, and there's the one that's like, I'll take the rapist for 200, and then Alec Trebek, that's therapists. That's you're right. So that I don't know. I always think about that, and this little thing about two P's or one P. But anyway. So, but what was it? Um, what was I? So yes, and of course, this is the introduction of Christopher Reeve as Clark Kent here, and this is one of the great moments. Of course, we have Margot Kidder as right, Margot Kidder as Lois Lane, and oh gosh, Perry White, of course, Jimmy Olsen, the Daily Planet, everything here. So, but it's very important for us too, because we see Christopher Reeve here as this huge figure presence with his natural height and everything in his suit, but he's also with the voice and the glasses, which he does. This gesture with the glasses is very important. It falls down the ridge of his nose, and he has to push it up on time. You notice every time he does this is very important, because it emphasizes the glasses. It also has that sense of the what's going on kind of thing, and a type of subliminal level. I totally understand. I'm a glasses wearer myself, so I totally get that, and I understand what that is. But those little details are so beautiful and so important. Again, the persona of Clark Kent is very important here, and it's this idea of swell and half of his salary a week being sent to his mother. Don't tell me he has a gray-haired mother back. Actually, he's silver-haired, right? So, are there any more like him? No, not right. So that has double meaning, right? Because not only is he an only child here, but he's in fact, yes, really the only son of Krypton. Although, right, we'll understand that maybe he's not the only survivor. But in any event, yes. Yes. So many things going on here, and the I have some fizzy water here. I'm not gonna tap the thing. I'm just trying to, and then it just dun on the table, and all the things going on. Why would you want to make another stranger look like a total fool and that sort of thing? And so there's a kind of a back and forth there. It's snappy, it's witty, it's very fast. I think there's a type of, what's the phrase? It's why am I forgetting? Why am I forgetting his name? Gosh, I'm so bad with names today. I apologize. I'm making. Gosh. It'll come to me. Why am I forgetting? Gosh. For some reason, there's a Howard Hawks. I was thinking I was trying so hard to remember Howard Hawks. For whatever reason, the name Hal Holbrook was just coming into my head all the time. Just Hal Holbrook. It's not Hal Holbrook. Howard Hawks. It's like a Howard Hawks film, which is really great. Incidentally, Hal Holbrook makes a really great appearance in one of the Superman TV specials, where they're celebrating Superman, and I think Dana Carvey is there as Brainiac, but if I remember correctly. But anyway, and he's talking. I remember Hal Holbrook is there talking about the Fortress of Solitude. He's dressed up in a Superman costume. He begins to cry, and it's so great. And anyway, what was I saying? So yes, it's not Hal Holbrook. It's like a Howard Hawks movie, and because of the snappy, witty dialogue, and he's gonna take the city. Hey, no, wait, Chief, that's my beat. And of course, this is a reference to the fact that Clark Kent is the fastest typer he's ever seen. And then so there's a kind of a rocky relationship already between Clark and Lois, but it also has a little bit of, I don't know if sexual tension is the right word, but there's a little bit of that sort of innuendo in the air a bit. But not really, because she doesn't appear to be very much into him. Later, when they go down to the elevator, she's just not really paying attention that she's talking to I met another guy. He's great. I have to mail these envelopes. I'll see you later, Lois. And hi, Clark. It's just walking behind you and then walking out. And then talking about swell. Don't use the word swell. That's not something that we use anymore. Getting stuck in that little, what's that, the revolving door thing. The revolving door is very important symbol or a little prop in the film a little bit later, as we'll see. And then getting the stick up with the guy, and talk about the guy with the gun is like going like this, and then Lois, what are you doing? Drop. And I love how she's taking her bag like that and just throwing it on the ground. It's not giving him the the dignity of handing the purse to him. He's got to pick it up himself and just taking the gun from him. Not he doesn't let go and he shoots it. You know, the catching of the bullet. Oh, Clark, you fainted. You faint. Oh, sorry. And then of course he didn't faint because he knows we got this. He's got a little smile. Throws the bullet. So it's great. It's so wonderful. That rapport and the Clark Kent persona, the relationship between Lois and Clark is established. Margot Kidder, again, I I will always be just smitten, so smitten. Margot Kidder, Lois Lane, and just there's a little bit later when Perry White's giving that big speech to the staff at the Daily Planet. I want you to get the scoop on Superman. Does he have a girlfriend, right? And you get a cut. Margot Kidder, he's got that smile on her face. This, yes, you had me at hello, right? So, oh gosh, so smitten. But anyway, um, and what was I saying? I'm lost in, I'm lost in thought about Margot Kidder as Lois Lane here. So, I've lost my train of thought. Really, I have. I'm just thinking about that scene of Margot Kidder smiling. I love it. I love it. But anyway, as I remember my train of thought, I'll go to the live chat. All right, let's see. Oh yes, I remember now. Okay, okay. Oh, Omesh says when Clark and Lois are leaving the Daily Planet and Clark gets trapped in the revolving door, you can see a reflection of Richard Donner standing beside the camera mat box. Oh, interesting. All right. I like the guy's coat, that sports coat that he's wearing. The guy with the gun. There are a lot of really great coats in this, jackets in this. There's another one which is Lex Luthor. Oh wow, that the things that he wears and Otis. Oh gosh, okay, we've got to talk about it now, which is Armus and Harry tailing Otis through what looks like Grand Central Station, and Otis is eating, and the great Otis theme. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, Ned Beatty, wow. And he's just going through it. Of course, the underground cavern, and the idea here is that tailing Otis might lead to the big one, Lex Luthor. So we've got Harry with the hat, right? Harry's the one with the hat, right? Armus is the other guy with the kind of long hair, right? And then Harry's following him, I'll follow him by himself. Don't worry, you get back. I'll just follow him by myself, and nothing will happen to me. What can happen to me when we're walking in underground caverns with running trains? Nothing can happen, right? But I'm just going to wear a hat, which is not at all. It's not at all portentous of anything at all, except maybe if I get crushed by a train and the only thing that's surviving is my hat. So anyway, but which is what happens, right? Because you've got the door that opens as the train passes, and then Otis then walks into the underground layer. Of course, we have the unseen face, but we have the hand of, we understand, Lex Luthor with the key opening, and then pushing the thing, and then the trip, and then that's the end, right? That's the end of Harry, right? So, right, and then you have the introduction of Lex Luthor and Miss Tessmacher, and now Otis. So this is the trio of villains here. And so Miss Tessmacher kind of, is somewhat expressing, right, a little bit of, disgust at what's going on. And then we have, of course, the great Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, and then Otis, right? So the great combination, this combination of Miss Tessmacher, Valerie Preen, and Ned Beatty, Otis, and Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor. This is so wow. One of the great strengths of this film is not just the heroes, but the villains. And the villains here are so villainous and so great, and having so much fun. And that love-hate relationship, more hate because this Lex Luthor is really, really just like in a bad mood, especially against Otis. But Otis, bless his heart, is always there for Lex, right? He's always there. He tries his best for Lex. He's like, Mr. Luthor, I'm sorry, Mr. Luthor. I'm sorry. Your follower again. Oh, the lamp. Oh, my goodness. This is so great. Gene Hackman's performance is brilliant. Oh, and Otis, one of my favorite characters ever, is Otis. I love Otis. There's a scene a little bit later when after he's punched in the codes, the vector codes. He's punched in 3 vector codes instead of the 4th vector code. He said the 3rd vector code is 117, right? So, and after he's done that, he runs down the hill, and I love the shot where Otis is running down the hill, and and he says, well, let's just get to that. I love it. I did it, Mr. Luthor. I did it, right? And he says, and the 3rd is as 117, and what about the 4th? The 4th? No, wait, 117. No. The 3rd was 11. The 3rd was 11, and the 4th one's 7. Gee, Mr. Luthor. Oh, I guess my arm wasn't long enough, Mr. Luthor. Oh, do you want to see a long arm, Otis? Otis, do you want to see a long arm? And then Miss Tessmacher, you see on the side, she's clapping and smiling. Do you want to see a long? Oh, geez. Oh, do you want to see a long? Otis. And the chaos of the car, and then she tries to get. Oh, I love that. So Otis running down the hill. Oh, I love it. And that interaction. Oh, great. Yes. Anyway, I love it. Oh, great. And right. And Otis next time, I'm gonna put on my after I get out of the pool, and that the candy apple look from Otis. Oh, it's wonderful. So it's the great introduction here. One of the great villains, Gene Hackman here. When I saw this film, or not, when I knew of this film again as a kid growing up in the 80s, this was one of the ways I got to know, right, the performances of Gene Hackman. Of course, I know now, right, Gene Hackman, right, with French Connection, but this is the first Gene Hackman performance I knew. So whenever I thought of Gene Hackman going forward as a kid, I'd always think of Lex Luthor. He was Lex Luthor. Wow, what an iconic performance this is. So Lex Luthor, and then Otis and Miss Tessmacher. I love the bit too when he realizes, Lex Luthor realizes that one of the missiles has been diverted, and he realizes that it was Miss Tessmacher, and he goes and he gets a close of it. It is Miss Tessmacher, and you've got the line, Miss Tessmacher, right? But you see his lips. He doesn't say Miss Tessmacher. He says Miss Tessmacher. It's almost like it's Miss Tessmacher. So he says Miss Tessmacher. I love that. That's so cool. That is so cool. But we also know that Lex Luthor is not just a comic timing, brilliant Gene Hackman, but he's also very intelligent, very dangerous, very, very dangerous indeed. Right, so very, very dangerous indeed. So in any event, and he's dangerous because he has a number of plots, right? He's plotting the crime of the century. And what is the crime of the century? We'll find out a little bit later when he has his James Bond villain scene with Christopher Reeve's Superman, James Bond, and the scene involving, right, the application of what he calls a 500 megaton bomb placed just at the right moment in terms of the fault line in California, right? So because also he has this thing about real estate, about his father telling him when he was 6 years old about how stocks can rise and fall, but real estate will be there forever. It's constant. So people always will need real estate. So there's this obsession that he has with real estate, which is very cool indeed, I suppose. Although it leads to very disastrous consequences, as you'll see, as he tries to perpetrate or carry out what he calls the crime of the century. So, but we shall see going forward with that. But before we do, let me go to the live chat. There's a lot more to talk about with this film, but again, all right, let's see. Scrolling down, Kubrick Lover 72 says, Daisuke, some of the technology Lex Luthor's looks so dated. Yes, it does, but it has that wonderful like button pressing kind of stuff to it, which I really love. Oh, okay, good. None of the fizzy water explosion like Clark Kent and Lois Lane. Zyrother says, I'd move to Otisburg. Yes, me too. Oh gosh, I'd love to. And I love the S, it's backwards. I love that too. It's reverse. That's so cool. All right. Yes, Cooper Glover says, I think it is Grand Central Station. Yes, yes. Classic Pinball is here. Hello, it's nice to see you. Let's see, Botero is here. It's not. Oh, sorry, Botero is here. Excuse me. Nice to see you here. And let's see. All right, scrolling down. Okay. Yes. Yes, land. What did he say? Get out. Yes, before that. Yes. All right. Okay, so now we're gonna go into more of the Clark Kent Lois Lane stuff, because now Lois Lane is on assignment, right, and she's going to the helicopter, the Daily Plan helicopter on the roof there, and at the same time Clark Kent is going, oh, good night, no one cares, going down, going up, right, so the elevator. So the gall of someone who's so, like, when you use an elevator, you press the down button, but then the elevator opens and it's going up, and you walk in, you think it's going down, but it's going up. Like, I mean, it happens all the time. So I wonder, like, why is that guy so annoyed when he tries to get on the elevator thinking it's going down? He's, no, it's up. So, gosh. Anyway, it happens all the time. There's no need to get that upset. But anyway, so yeah, he's having trouble going down there. But in the meantime, outside the helicopter and the scene, right, which is the first big scene, the first big disaster scene with the wire and the getting caught in the helicopter crashing on the side of the building. Oh my gosh. And the thing with the door, and the pilot is knocked out unconscious. Lois Lane is trapped, and she tries to get out, but then the weight of the movement of the weight makes it crumble even more, and she falls out. She's hanging for dear life on the seatbelt. Oh, help, right? It's very scary. And so there are a number of things going on here, so intense. This is the first huge disaster scene going on. And then, so talk about that back screen projection, because you see a shot of her, help, and the ground below. You're going to get some great back projection. I know some people have said maybe the technology looks a bit bad. I don't think so. I think this is real. It looks so real. It really does. To my eyes, it looks so real, so scary. I know it's an illusion. I know it's cinematic magic. I know, but it just looks so real. And she says, help, screaming. And then there's a thing about Margot Kidder's performance here, and when you hear her, she's like just gasping for breath, just desperate. Just you hear her struggles. You hear like that, just trying to get out through the upper part of the door there, and you hear and you see her face wincing and things. So this stuff is really important because it makes it so direct. And this was kind of really disturbing and when we get to the scene later when the dirt is coming into the car and she's trapped and she's the stuff about she's like and she's screaming, that it was Margot Kidder's performance that sold that scene and this scene as well. But that scene, it scares me so much and it scares me and it makes me so sad, and I'm really invested because I don't want anything bad to happen, but she's there, hey, and just, oh my goodness. And then of course we have she's hanging and everyone's watching what's going on, and then Clark Kent walks on, oh, what's going on? And he looks up, oh, gotta go, it's time for me, it's time for my debut, I was waiting for this. Goes to the phone booth thing there. It's not one of those phone, it's one of those standing things there, right? Payphones, right? This is the time of payphones, really cool. So he goes to the revolving door, and Seth Walsh, our dear friends, what happened to his suit? Did it dissolve evaporate into thin air? I'm not sure, but whatever it happened, he's hitting it somewhere, I don't know, but it's really cool. The revolving doors, maybe it was super fast. He hit it somewhere and then went around. So there's the revolving door there. Thank goodness. Talk about Godfather references again. Thank goodness Willie Chi-Chi wasn't standing outside the revolving door. Anyone who knows, right? The five families, the revolving door. Okay, anyway. So, but he goes there, the revolving door. Could you imagine Superman versus Willie Chi-Chi? that matchup. Who would wow. Anyway, he throws it, he runs out, and then just you see that quick shot. That is a bad outfit. Woo! And I love that guy too, because as Superman flies and he's just making fun of his outfit. That is a bad outfit. He flies and he sees him fly up, and even though he sees him fly, if I were that guy and I see someone flying, I would be like, wow, whoa, right? But no, he still stands by his conviction that it's a bad, and he says, whoa, right? I love that guy. I love that. And he flies up, and then, of course, by this time, Lois has lost her grip, and she's falling through, and this is the end of Lois Lane. And then, oh my gosh. Right, don't worry, miss, I got you, right? And that great line, oh, you've got me, who's got you? And then it's such a great line that even Superman is like laughing. It's funny. And he's just flying. I love it. And I love the physics of this, because he catches her, and you see that she's falling. I love that bit where you have that slow stop in midair and then goes back up. I love that type of physics of the film, and you actually see that as well when he grabs the helicopter. He kind of grabs it, and it goes like that. I love those little details. That's so great, so great. And then I love the report. Oh my, I can't believe it. I can't. Oh, he got her. I just can't believe it. Could you imagine that kind of news broadcast? Watching like this giant disaster going, and then, oh my gosh, he got her. Wow, I can't believe it. Oh, so cool. What a great news reporter. Anyway, yeah. And then and everyone's clapping and and of course, still statistically speaking, it's still the safest way to travel flying. That is, and he says, I love the smile and the people, the guy wearing the coat standing. Oh, this man needs a medical attention. And then it goes, who are you? A friend. Bye. And then she faints. Wow, what a debut! And of course, this goes into the opening night of Superman, just going out on town, just can't help himself, just flying. And I love the bit too where he's flying. He can't. It's just he's just showing off when he's doing the upside down flying, and the back projection is upside down and it goes right side up and right side. Yeah, he's showing. But I guess if I were Superman and I could fly, I would show off that. Oh, so cool flying. Frisky the cat is Frisky, right? The cat, and also the guy with the suction cups climbing up the side of the building, and going down, and the robbery and the people like on the boat. I love the robbers on the boat. There's the guy trying to knock Superman with bad vibrations. Right, that's the bad vibrations guy. But I love the other guys in the boat. And when you're a bad guy robber in a movie, what are you gonna do? There's always gonna be a scene of you counting money. So I love they're counting the money, and I love that. It's so cool, and just sitting there counting the money. I love it. It's so great. And then of course the boat, and then now the boat's there, and then there's also the bit with Air Force One, and I did my Air Force One pilot impression. Fly, just fly. Just Mayday, Metropolis, and then great, and then so this is the debut. Look, it flies. Look, Ma, no wing, no wires or something. And so and all this, and so now we have everything going on at once. The Superman element is introduced. Lex Luthor is introduced. Lois Lane is introduced. Clark Kent is introduced. Daily Planet, Metropolis is introduced. It's all here, and the everything is moving towards this confrontation. Of course, now Lex Luthor is aware of this because of the news and what's going on here. And then, of course, there's going to be in the pool and the swimming and the candied apple and the wig that I mentioned. Oh, Mr. Luthor. Oh, right. And then the wonderful like Hawaii thing in that pool. I wonder how they clean that pool area in the complex Grand Central or beneath the station. I wonder. But anyway, that's a very cool place, by the way. Speaking of cool places, Lois Lane's apartment. I don't know about you, but that is probably the coolest. I'd love to live in Lois Lane's apartment. Wow, with that outdoor. Oh, gosh, that looks like a really nice place to live. But anyway, she's of course waiting there because, as I mentioned earlier, there's the setup right 8 o'clock. A friend, and I love how it's not even. It's like 8. It's not even like 8:10 or 8:30. It's like 8:03, and she takes 8:03. But she's peeved that it's past 8. It's past 8 by like 3 minutes, and she considers that to be maybe being stood up. Wow. Like if I felt like I was being stood up for a date, I would wait until like 8:30 before I begin to think, oh, maybe I'm being stood up for a date. But 8:03? Oh my goodness. But anyway, yes, he starts right. But then Superman comes. Oh, good evening, Miss Lane. Oh, hi. And then there's the great scene, the beginning of the sequence, right? Lois Lane and Superman here. What a scene this is, right? We have the interview, and the sexual tension is there. Do you have a girlfriend? No, I don't. But if I did, you'd be the first to know about it. They're so cute. Christopher Reeve and Margaret Kidder, they're so cute. And do you eat? That's when I'm hungry. Yes. And how much do you weigh? I'm up to 225. All right. And so you can see, of course, Lois Lane is now just in love, right? And this is the scene that will solidify that emotional relationship, and we'll see how that emotional relationship is developed even further in this film and maybe in other films. Who knows? But here, this scene is absolutely magical for a number of reasons. So the rapport between the two of them is it's off the charts. It's so wonderful. And what color underwear am I wearing? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you embarrassed. No, I just have trouble seeing through lead. This planter is made of lead. I have trouble seeing through lead. And then pink, right? I didn't mean to make you embarrassed. Oh no, I wasn't embarrassed. So there's the thing, and see through. Smoking, you shouldn't smoke. Lung cancer. Not yet, thank goodness. And that convinces her. She puts out the cigarette right afterwards. I love that little detail as well. And right, she just makes something. The moment that's really, she says, do you like pink? And you see the bit where she realizes she's made the mistake, but it's too late for her to take it back, and so it's just hanging there. That scene of awkwardness, or that moment of awkwardness, and you have the close-ups on the two of them, and each, and then you have the close-up on Superman. Yeah, I like pink very much. Oh wow! Talk about a line that is so loaded with both romance and like kinky sex at the same time. That is genius. That is genius right there. And it's perfect. It's perfect. I mean, there's a romance there, but there's also kind of a kinky sexual innuendo that's going on all over the place. It's perfect, and that's the perfect line for it. Do you like pink? Yes, right. Brilliant. Oh, absolutely brilliant. I don't know who thought of that line. Is it Tom Mankiewicz or Mario Puzo or who? I don't know who it was. Richard Donner, I don't know. But whoever, that deserves that line. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. And then, of course, that leads into, the CRI, KRY, and it's flying, and Clark Kent, it's Peter Pan, this is reality, and he's flying, and of course, can you read my mind, and the flying scene, and I love the bit where she's flogging, and then it's so cool, so magical, and the flying scenes here are just, I think, again, tops. I buy it. And they're flying through the air, and they go up through the clouds up to the upper part of the atmosphere. They're alone and flying, and they have the little thing. I don't know what was Superman thinking here. He's into it so much that he didn't realize that their grip was losing. He was losing his grip, and then she falls. Oh, flying through space. Oh no, I'm gonna die. Catch. Oh gosh, I don't know if he did that on purpose or not. Maybe not, but that's like. If I were Lois Lane, I wouldn't. I'd kind of be upset. Like, why did you drop me, Superman? Come on, what gives? But anyway, it's okay because, right, just that they're in the embrace. It's romantic. It's perfect. They're alone. Right, you can fly in the sky. I'm a fool. And you read my mind. And you read my mind. Oh, well, I love it. I know, some people say it's cringy. Oh, it's great. It's great. It just happens for a moment too. That's perfect. It's perfect. And so, and it kind of has that little parallel. Can you read my mind? He can see through things, but can he see through into her mind? He can see through to see, the pink. He can see through to her lungs, but can he see into her heart? And that's the whole thing about that, which is so lovely, brilliant. But and then it ends it so well. Oh, this is so Superman. Superman. Yeah, yeah. And I spent the night with Superman in the great interview, which is printed in the Daily Planet, which is read by Miss Tessmacher and Otis. And of course, that leads Lex Luthor later to this whole scene with the meteorite in Addis Ababa. Oh, are we going to Addis Ababa, Mr. Luthor? And then that's the whole thing with Krypton. But before that, too, that scene, before we end that interview, the scene with Lois and Superman leaves. And it's so magical because then we have at the same shot, Clark at the door. And I know how it's done. It's kind of clever use of projection and things like that. So, but it's such a great illusion. It's in the same shot. It looks like Superman is in one end and then Clark is in the other. And how could they have done that? It's so wow. But then Clark's at the door. Didn't you hear me knocking? Didn't you hear me knocking? We had a date. And I love well, so you haven't been. I love that. I love how because the implication is she been drinking, but the gesture is almost like, have you been drinking tea? That's so cool. I've been. All right, shall we just push off, shall we? So we had a date. So I was gonna, and then of course she goes and gets her coat, and at the moment where it's such a classic moment where he takes off his glasses, and his posture adjusts, and he becomes Superman in that moment, and then and his voice, Lois. I just love that change, that difference in voice between the Clark Kent voice and the Superman voice. Just you haven't been, haven't you? Lois, there's something I need to tell you. I'm really and he puts the glass in. No, I just really, I'm gonna have a date, and I was gonna show you the time of your life. So that difference in, and then she's, oh, that's Clark, nice, and so he's smiling, so he knows that yes, she's totally smitten with Superman, but he's gonna go on with the illusion, right? But is it the really illusion? Is this the real persona or not? We'll get maybe into some of those discussions. Maybe we get into other films like Superman 2 or maybe in Superman 3, who knows? But and I love how he's going to show her the time of her life. And what does he say as they close? Oh, I thought we were going to go for a hamburger. Oh, great. According to Clark, the time of showing a girl a time of their lives would be taking them to a hamburger. That's really great. That's great. When I was young and single, and for me, a hamburger date was tops. To take a girl out on a date for a hamburger, I thought was the coolest thing. I wasn't. I didn't have not much money. I couldn't afford fancy dinners or flowers or a full course meal, but I could have hamburger date. I thought was just tops, absolutely tops. So good on Clark for thinking about that, but we'll see. Yes. All right. What is it? Oh, it's 8:56. I have about only 15 minutes before I have to go, so I'll have to make it quick. All right. Time capsule is here. Yes. I don't know. Where would you like to live, by the way? Would you like to live in Lex Luthor's lair or with the pool and the pretend Hawaii space and the huge halls? Or would you like to live in Lois Lane's apartment? I would go for Lois Lane's apartment myself because, wow, that is such a great apartment. But Lex Luthor's lair looks so cool as well. Anyway. Yes, time capsule. The scene when they fly past the Statue of Liberty was cool. To me, this old flying seems to look more floatier in a way. Weightlessness, should I say. That's a very good way of describing a time capsule, definitely. All right. In the interest of time, I have to kind of rush through. I apologize. But going now into sort of the final act of the film, because now we have California, and now we have the interview, which then reveals a certain thing, and now Lex Luthor, with his genius intelligence, realizes that maybe a meteorite from Krypton, the destruction of the planet, sent debris through space, and some of that debris must have landed on Earth. So he remembers something about news about a meteorite in Addis Ababa, and concludes that such meteorite could be floating or planetary debris. And if that's the case, then this could have some kind of radiation within it, which could weaken Superman. Kryptonite. So we have then the scene with Addis Ababa, or not the reference to Addis Ababa. Then we have the I mentioned briefly too about the missiles and Larry Hagman. Jr. is in this film, right? So which is really interesting indeed. And oh gosh. Also, I mentioned to Rex Reed is in this film as well, but oh gosh, what was I saying? So yes, and the plot to with the missiles and the arming mechanism for the two missiles, and so one missile is going to be targeted to the strategic point in California, the desert, and the other missile is going to be targeted to Hackensack, New Jersey. And so then, with these two missiles and the code, which was corrected by Miss Tessmacher after Otis basically messed it up because his arm wasn't long enough. Then we have the final act, which is the announcement of the launch of the missiles, and then of course the little pew new 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 new, and then only dogs can hear it, and so this is Lex Luthor. There's a good streak of goodness in you, Superman. I know it's perfect, and this brings Superman to the lair, and the whole thing where Superman lands on the street there, and he does the little turn, the little corkscrew turn down into the lair, which is a very cool effect, by the way, and walks through. There's a little bit of an extended sequence here that you don't get in the theatrical version, but the end result is he breaks through this steel door, or this huge metal door, whatever material it is, goes in the confrontation between Lex Luthor and Superman. Otis, Miss Tessmacher sort of in the wings as well. And I'm kind of an interesting, almost fascination with this person who's Superman. And here we have the plot, right? The 500-ton megaton bomb placed precisely on the right location would cause California, or the strip of California, to fall into, destroy California, or leaving part of it behind. And that part of it behind at the moment is what they call in the film sort of maybe relatively speaking, not so much high in value, but this mysterious buyer has been buying up property in this area. And so Lois and Jimmy are there to kind of investigate this. And then, so the idea is this has been purchased by, right, Lex Luthor Incorporated. And so the idea is he's buying up all this land in order to then destroy part of California such that his land becomes beachfront property. And so you have all, excuse me, you have all these places, including, well, I guess not Otisburg, although, again, as Zyrother and others have mentioned there, I would love to live in Otisburg. I'd love to buy a house in Otisburg. That'd be so cool. But anyway, right, Otisburg, oh, Miss Tessmacher. Oh, all right, I'm just gonna wipe it off. And you actually, you kind of see him gesture that he's wiped, but you never actually see the right. Actually, I don't think so. Maybe you do. Maybe you. Please, do you actually see it wiped off? Maybe when he cracks the glass, I forget. But anyway, again, I'd live in Otisburg. Whatever it is, Casa del Lex or something. No, Otisburg for me, anytime. We can play football in Otisburg. Kick the football. If Clark Kent's there, we can kick it, and he's going to kick it all the way into space or something like that. And Otis is there with his candied apples. Oh, cool. Miss Tessmacher with swimming. I don't know. But, and so anyway, yes. So then what I love, too, is the manipulation of Lex Luthor, manipulating Superman right into the trap of opening the case, the lead case. And his eye movements, he just knows he's one step, he's many chess moves ahead of Superman. Superman isn't stupid. He's just I think he's showing his hand too much here, and so Lex Luthor gets the better of him here because of the revelation of Krypton. Don't open it. I told you not to open it. Yeah, just putting this huge necklace of kryptonite. Now this scene too, as a kid, really scared me, because this was the moment where Superman is seen to be so weak indeed, and just the music, and just the green glow, and it's very eerie, scary, and it's this huge, heavy necklace. He falls in, pushed into the pool, and you see the missiles flying as we see the underwater sequence of Christopher trying to take off the thing, but he just can't do it. And wow. And right, and then of course we have the understanding too that one missile going to Hackensack, New Jersey, and Miss testimony, my mother lives in Hackensack, and then so what does this mean? Of course, this is very important because this is going to make Superman, right? The last chance that he has is Miss Tessmacher. Will Miss Tessmacher help him? Well, the deal is she will help him if he promises to get the missile that is going to hit Hackensack, Jersey first. And she knows that she can believe him because he always tells the truth. And he says, he's starting, but Lois and Jimmy, no, you've got to get that missile first. And he promises to do that because that's what he does. But the whole thing about it is that it's timed in such a way that, according to Lex Luthor, he would only have time to get one missile and not both of them. Which, to be perfectly honest, I understand it's needed for the mechanics of the plot, but actually later in the film, when he flies around the world to turn back time, if he can fly so fast as to turn back time, I would think that he could fly fast enough to get those two missiles. But anyway, that's just me. But I know for purposes of the film, you need this. So, okay, so he can only get one of the missiles, and that's the Hackensack, New Jersey one. But what that means is he's freed, and of course there's the kiss. Said, I didn't think you'd let me later. I can't get it on with the good guys, and so stand back. And it flies through it and just gets the missile. I love the bit where he's reaching for it and throws it into space. But then it's too late because he sees the explosion in California, and then the whole thing with the California sequence is happening, and chaos ensues. This is such a scary scene because everything is happening. This is pretty intense stuff. He goes underground with the sort of the intense brightness of the underground kind of crust scenes, and then flying through, and all the chaos is happening outdoors. Jimmy happens to be at a dam that's just about to burst and cracking, and and the bit where you see Jimmy about to fall, and the thing where his hands are just struggling on the rock that's now powdery. That got to me. The bus with the kids. It's right. This is and they're just about to fall off the bridge there and just hanging. Get to the other side of the kids, and then the train and the hole and the track. Oh my gosh! And then all the stuff's happening. But what's happening here is Superman is pushing back. He's preventing the fault line from collapsing beneath. He's just pushing everything back, which is amazing. And he's just going all busy. Superman is working overtime. Here. He deserves a raise at the end of this day because he's just going all out, just all over the place. And he's able to save the kids on the bus. And I love the bit where he's like, oh, it's okay now, and just waves to everyone and just flies off, and while all the other chaos is happening in the train. Now, I don't know about you, but I see the thing with the train, and he repairs the train track, and the train goes over him. And you kind of see the train go over him, but kind of there's a bit of air between him and the train. So I don't know what that meant. Like it kind of jumped over him or something or maybe if they actually showed the train digging into his body, that would have been too gruesome. I don't know. But anyway, he's able to save the train just in time. And also Jimmy with the dam. And the dam bursting, he's gotcha, and then of course the water about to flood the little community there, but he was able to block it in time with the rocks and to make a makeshift dam there. It's all great. So he saved the day, except of course, right, that one element which is Lois is driving with the red car, no gas at the gas station. The earthquake's happening. And of course, the telephone poles are falling down, and the car stops a little bit later. And she sees behind the fissure in the ground, right towards, like chasing her. And just a car collapses into the ground. Just oh my gosh! I mentioned before, this was so scary for me, so sad for me, because claustrophobia set in. Just the dirt and just this. It's like a nightmare. And while all this is happening, you just cut back to her, just hanging on for dear life. And then Superman realizes, oh, no, I forgot Lois. And you see her flying desperately. And as she's doing so, you see the moment where life leaves her. And her body, it's like her body turns like pale all of a sudden, which is so scary, so sad. And then the moment where he discovers it, and you see da na na, that almost the violence of the jagged edge of the fissure in the ground as it reaches the car, and the red car, just stuck in there. He pulls the car out and he just rips the door off, and he sees the soil come out, and Lois is there dead. And that moment, ah. Oh my gosh. And I just get emotional just thinking about it, right? And Christopher Reeve's acting here just, and it's quiet. After all this chaos, all this stuff's happened, all this multitasking that's been going on, this super crime of the century, right? This chaos, this super multi-disaster has happened. Now we have a quiet moment because Lois is dead. Right, and right. And at that moment when he puts her on the ground, he's trying to cradle her head, and maybe lets it drop a little bit too fast. He's like, oh, it's like that. But you don't want to. You just want to put the head gently down on the ground, but he kind of drops it accidentally. And it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then the moment too, which is, there's it's often referred to as Kurosawa's Rashomon moment. It's the same characters but from a distance, fade in different perspectives, and there's it's not clean edits, but they're fades into it's a shot of him, and it fades into another shot, fades into another shot, fades into another shot. This is a heavy moment. This is such a heavy moment. And you see him like, no. So, and in that there's a little bit of teary-eyed nature there, and that anger and that scream, which is like, I don't know, like this is the moment that, I mean, Christopher Reeve's performance is just it's stratospheric, but here he's just taking it to like another galaxy. This is acting like, wow. And that scream and that look on his face as he flies into the air, it's right there. It's all there. The desperation, the sadness, the just everything. And then, of course, the final confrontation with more flying heads in space and the cloud, and I like, Christopher Reeve's like, huh? What's going on? There's all these voices, And then one thing I do know, son, is that you are here for a reason. It is forbidden. All those powers couldn't even save him, right? And that's what Cooper Lover 72 says. This is the moment that comes back to him. He couldn't save his father, Pa Kent, Jonathan. But now he's like, I gotta do something. So he goes in, and then he flies. And the whole thing is that the revolution of the Earth is suggestive of that people go in time. But if you reverse the idea, you go back in time. Well, of course, this is, in terms of kind of physics, it's a ludicrous idea, right? Because you're just shifting you're just turning it the other way, and so it doesn't change time, right? But this is the concept. This is at this point, you've got to believe it, and you do. He's so doing things that you just turn back time, and that's what he does. And so. But when I was a kid, I was thinking, no, that wouldn't be the case. He wouldn't really be turning back time. It would be it would just be, the different, it would be just revolving in a different direction. That's all. It wouldn't be turning back time. So that's how I was at when I was watching this as a kid. So I'd never, so in an odd way, now that I'm an adult, I believe it more now that I'm like, 40 something adult, rather than when I was like, whatever, 8 or 9 years old as a kid. But still, I understand it, right? This is part of the fantasy. This is part of the comic book, and it's brilliant. It does work because it shows the desperation, and indeed too, right at the end of the day, as I said, he would have flown fast enough to be able to catch those 2 missiles. I have no doubt about that. So if he's able to do that, and the story goes along in that direction, that he wasn't able to catch him in time, I can still go along with the idea that he's able to turn back time. And it's a great sequence, and I love the bit where everything goes back. It's everything reversed. The walls on the dam go back to normal. And then the bit where he goes to Lois Lane's car, and Lois is there like, and she's still trying to start the car, and he's flying it. That's great. That's how it was. So there are little details that don't quite make sense. If he was going to go back and turn back time, wouldn't have been back in time to a part where there wouldn't have been an earthquake because he would have been back at time just enough to catch both missiles. So they wouldn't have had the earthquake. If there was no earthquake, then what is she talking about? The telephone poles flying? Because those wouldn't have fallen hadn't there not been an earthquake. So I don't know what. But maybe I'm catching the deals. But in any event, it's right. At the end of the day, right? It's the end of the movie, so it's like, okay, we just go with it. Just go with it. And so she's there, and she's going, oh, it's just, but, and she's kind of complaining a little bit, but you can see the relief on his face. And then she's just, I'm so sorry. I love that. I love it. And they're. It's not like a kiss, and they're about to kiss, but Jimmy Olsen comes in, and then speaking of Jimmy Olsen, I forgot to say when Jimmy Olsen is rescued from the dam, and he's oh, it's okay, Lois Lane's gonna pick me up later, and then you see rocks and the earthquake. You see him running away. He's a fast runner, is he not? Jimmy Olsen. He's really running fast. So if you think of a football team with Jimmy Olsen as what's the running back, and maybe Clark Kent as the kicker, you'd have a pretty strong, maybe a Super Bowl potential team right there. Again, you've got to be sure that Clark Kent controls his kicking. He doesn't have a kick it flying through space there. But anyway, right? And then you're about to kiss, but then Jimmy Olsen's there at the last minute, and he's got to go. And there we have the final moments, the final denouement. And, Clark, wait a minute, Clark. Where's Clark? Nah, no, be silly. Yeah, okay, we'll pick up that little train of thought perhaps in a later film. But, we'll get together. Maybe if he's lucky, flying. And the final moments of taking Otis and Lex Luthor to the jail, to the warden, to await trial. I don't, and then so the idea is that they're not going to jail, but they're going to be held in custody. Arrested, I assume, awaiting their trial. So, and who is this? Lex Luthor, the greatest criminal mind of our time. I hereby serve notice that these walls, will you send you nincompoop? Miss Tessmacher is not there. So, but Otis and Lex Luthor are there, and bald Lex Luthor. Gene Hackman, bald. Wow. Lex and Otis. Oh my gosh. And that's it. The world is safe again, Superman. Thanks to you. No, we're all part of the same team, right? And boom, that's the end. And then flying through space. Of course, now the iconic. You have the James Bond films. There's some James Bond connections between Superman and the crew, and James Bond films. Such as Tom Mankiewicz, Guy Hamilton was signed up to direct at one point before Richard Donner and stuff. But the way that James Bond opens with the gun barrel is very similar to the way that Superman films with Christopher Reeve end with this shot of him flying in space out in the sort of the Earth over below him, and he flies and he goes. And he smiles and he flies off into space. Ah, what a great way to end it. And Christopher Reeve's smile. Christopher Reeve screaming out of pain. And then, of course, the Christopher Reeve smile and those teeth, those pearly whites. My goodness, they're sparkling. It's much like what is shinier, the Krypton clothes or Christopher Reeve's teeth? I don't know. That's a good battle. Which is shinier. I don't know. I would say Christopher Reeve's teeth is giving the Kryptonian clothes a run for their money. But any event, all right. So it's 9:15 right now. I have to go in about 5 minutes or so, but I'll stick around for some chat discussion. I skipped over so many comments, so I'm very, very sorry. If you want to leave behind a comment, now's the time. Because yes, Paul Casino is here. It's great. Yes. Paul Casino says putting Clark Kent as the kicker would be such a waste of talent. Yes, exactly. You have to figure out exactly how to use your players effectively, right? Because the name of the game is winning. So, yes. Matthew James, fans nowadays would make tons of YouTube videos criticizing the end of this. Really? Yeah, we're all part of the same team, right? It's I don't know, this ending is great. I haven't seen any YouTube videos of criticisms of this ending. If there are, that's news to me. But even if there were, I'd be like, wow, yeah, this is. I mean, all right, yeah, but I'm not going to say you have to like something that you don't like. That's fine. But for me, this is really great. This is really, really great. Um, it's lovely, lovely. Um, just love it so much. What a great ending. What a great film this is. Superman the movie. So that's in a nutshell how I feel about Superman the movie. I'm sorry, my kind of comments have been all over the place. Very much so. You can also get the Blu-ray. There's also a separate release I have on the shelf here, with the 3-hour cut, which is again the TV version. So there are different cuts. I think there's a theatrical cut. There's a 2.5-hour cut, and there's a 3-hour cut separately. So whatever suits your fancy, I suppose. But the theatrical cut is it's still tops, I think, for me. So thank you so much for this. I think what I will do is next, in the remaining minutes, let me say that I haven't scheduled the Superman 2 discussion, but I will very soon. And let's say, yes, I think what we're going to have to do is, I don't know if there's enough time. We'll see how it goes. We might have to do 2 separate discussions. One for Superman 2, the version that was eventually released, with Richard Lester, and then the Superman 2, the Donner version, the Donner cut, because they're actually quite different. So maybe we can do that. It's hard for me to balance between the two in one sitting. So rather than do that, maybe we can have one live stream talking about the release, theatrical release version, and then one live stream talking about the Donner cut. So let's think about it in those terms. And then later, we'll do Superman 3, which I love. I love Superman 3, okay? I love Superman 3. And I'll try to explain why. I love Superman 3. All right. I'm going to say it again. I love Superman 3. And then we'll talk about Superman for the Quest for Peace. I love Superman for the Quest for Peace. I love Superman for the Quest for Peace. Right. And then Supergirl. I love Supergirl. I saw Supergirl in the theater. So cool. So cool. Faye Dunaway and Peter O'Toole. Oh my goodness. So right. Anyway, yes. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about all the intricacies of that, right? The connections between Supergirl and what. Wow, fascinating, absolutely fascinating. That's like I tried like wrapping one's head around the logic of the things they're going to talk about. Try to wrap one's head around the logic of the links that they were trying to establish between Supergirl and Superman. Oh my gosh, wow, that's like wow. All right, we'll have to try to. That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be so fun. But anyway, so that's the idea going forward. Now I don't. I have to have I don't know if I'd be able to talk about any Superman films beyond that, but we'll definitely go up to Superman for the Quest for Peace and then Supergirl. So looking forward to those very much. Looking forward to it immensely. But I'm also Superman 2 because I love Superman 2. And we'll have to talk about Superman 2 again. 2 versions of that going forward. So I'll announce the schedule very, very soon when I know. It won't be next week, maybe 2 weeks from now, I think. But I'll make the announcement very soon. All right, so I think yeah, we can end very soon. But I guess as a final closer, and if you have any last minute comments, my dear friends, please feel free to do so. But as a final closer, I should say that yes, in my sort of scatterbrained attempt at trying to explain my feelings of this film, Superman the movie, I know that it was a bit all over the place, and I apologize. But I hope that at the very least, I was able to convey to you just how much I really love this film. I really love this one, and as I say, I've seen it a number of times. And I don't have all the details down, so I'm not the biggest expert when it comes to this world. But with that being said, there's a feelings that I have about it that I think will never be altered. I think there will always be there because again, I love this film immensely. Christopher Reeve is brilliant. Marlon Brando, the floating head Marlon Brando. Think about that, my dear friends. Godfather and Superman crossover. Think about the Fortress of Solitude scene with Bonacera. It's a whole different experience. Wow. I believe in America, Bonacera says as he's standing there in the middle of this Fortress of Solitude room talking to floating head Don Corleone. Could you imagine? Wow, wow. Oh my goodness. But anyway, and could you imagine then, and Godfather Part 2, Hyman Roth, played by Terrence Stamp, and then Terrence Stamp, Hyman Roth is saying to Michael Corleone, kneel before Hyman Roth. Come to me, son of Don Corleone, kneel before Hyman Roth. Wow. Anyway. Sorry about that, but. Yes, yeah, we'll have to do a Godfather discussion series too. Maybe we can do a live stream on the Godfather. Who knows? Maybe later. But in the meantime, Superman films, and I love Superman the movie to bits, and I always will. And it's been great to hear your comments. I'm sorry I wasn't able to read all the comments and the chat. I hope you can understand. But let's see. Time Capsule says yes. The 3-hour TV cut is my favorite. You say love it. Oh gosh, I should have pulled it off. It's on here somewhere, but yes, I agree. It's a great. If you can get that release on disc, it's totally worth it. It's so great. All right, I'll be here for another couple minutes. And Steve Moody says, loved your impersonations, even if my cat didn't. That's okay. So I love cats. So once again, my deepest apologies to your cat. I didn't mean any harm. I understand. I totally understand. But maybe another day, hopefully I might find an occasion to make it up to your cat. But Steve Moody, thank you so much, my dear friend. And once again, my deepest apologies to your cat. And I really mean that, by the way. Yes. All right. Oh, yes, thank you very much. Yes, I'll divide up the discussion because, as I say, the Superman 2 discussion, very different beasts indeed. There are similarities, but they're also very different. So, a lot to say about both of them, respective. So, KF is here. Thank you so much for stopping by. Matthew James, you could save Donner for the end of the series. That's a good idea. Or it might be maybe. We'll still be in kind of the frame of mind for Superman 2. So it might be it's good to have it at the end, but I'm thinking maybe just do it back to back. Not in the same day, but maybe one Sunday and then the following week we can do the Donner cut. So just to keep it still fresh in our minds. But that's a great idea, by the way, but thank you. All right. Let's see. Braveheart is here, my dear friend. Thank you very much. I hope you're well. Zyroth, yeah, that's a good idea about voting as well, like we did with the Bond films. But I think too, ultimately, it's definitely worth talking about both anyway. So let's start with we're gonna do the theatrical version, the Richard Lester version first. All right. So anyway, yes. All right. Let's see, 9:25. Okay, so I have to go in less than a minute. So my dear friends. Thank you so much. Was I talking about is it dry sycamore seed pod? Is that right? Hold on. Is it a sycamore seed pod? Yes. Thank you. I'm looking at the picture right. It's a sycamore seed pod, I think. Yes. That's what you're talking about, Omesh. Well done. Omesh with the win there at the end there. Wow. Final save. Wow. Right. With 3 seconds left on the clock. Well done. Yes, I guess that's what I was referring. I'm looking at the pictures now. Yes, with the little spikes on there. It always remind me of little Kal-El's ship. So anyway, thank you so much. Brilliant. Well done. All right. Let's see. Okay, my dear friends. Thank you. There's a Sycamore restaurant, guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, Cooper Glover with always great support. Zyrother, Seth, Cooper Glover, Omesh, Matthew, Steve, everyone here. Thank you so much for your Braveheart, Crunch, Timothy. Thank you so much, and everyone. Optimus Scott Slime. Thank you. Everyone here, if I didn't mention your name, I apologize deeply. No, I hope no ill will intended at all, just my own oversight, and I missed out. So, anyway, my dear friends, thank you, and I will see you at the next one. Until then, be well, and I'll announce the Superman 2 discussion schedule as soon as I know. So stay tuned for this to this channel for more updates on that. But until then, yes, we're off and running with the live stream discussions. So we'll continue on Superman movie discussions. So until the next one, my dear friends, thank you and cheers. Yes. All right, we're done here, so I have to go. Thanks. Have a great rest of your weekend, my dear friends. Right, because one thing I do know is that you are here for a reason. Yes. Otisburg. Otisburg. Are we going to Addis Ababa, Mr. Luthor? Otis. I love you, Otis. Do you want to see a long arm, Otis? Otis! Do you want to see a long arm? Do you want to see a long... No, Mr. Luthor, no. Do you want to see...